Welcome to the Family Law Wise podcast, and today I'm Amy Dixon and I'm with John Close, who is here with me to talk about family mediation. Welcome, John.
Welcome, thank you, Amy.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, my name's John Close. I am a family mediator. I've been working with Amy for a number of years now, and we are a family mediation firm.
We work with family mediation online, and we provide online mediation. And I suppose that's the first thing we should talk about, is the benefits of online mediation.
Absolutely. I think we're one of the few businesses that benefited from COVID because it pushed mediations online.
Yes.
And that's where it stayed. So our mediations are conducted using Zoom, which means that you can conduct your mediation from the comfort of your own home rather than having to travel to an office and sit around a table and do face-to-face. Although face-to-face still exists, and we are happy to do face-to-face if requested and if the parties wish to do that.
Absolutely. Our preference is online mediation because it gives you a little bit more time and space to think. So we do two types of mediation, don't we? Joint mediation
and shuttle mediation. So joint mediation is where we all sit on the same screen. We can all see each other, a bit like sitting around a virtual table. So everyone can see each other, we're all on the same screen, and the conversation's held in open. The other type of mediation that we do is something called shuttle mediation, where the participants are sitting in two virtual rooms, so they don't see each other, but the mediators, we will go between the rooms and do the mediation that way.
Yeah, so shuttle mediation, the parties never have any sight or sound of each other. So if you're feeling a little bit nervous about talking to your ex about the things that you need to discuss in mediation, you don't need to sit where you can see and hear each other. The mediator shuttles between. My personal preference is shuttle mediation. I like it, John.
I agree. I also like open mediation. I think it's nice when people can sit around a table and discuss. One of the benefits of having, I'll call it open mediation, is that the mediation flows and it's a little bit quicker in coming, the whole mediation process itself is quicker.
And I feel that shuttle mediation can be a quicker process because it gives the parties time to think and consider. So it stops the pressurised feeling sometimes that parties can get. I think if there's ever been any instances of, any domestic instances between the parties, it's vital and important that we mediate on a shuttle basis. So the mediator can make a decision and must make a decision about the format of mediation. But our personal preferences, of course, will be just of our experiences of mediation.
Yeah. And of course, both parties, either party can ask for shuttle mediation, and that's where the mediation will start. But if throughout a mediation process, both parties say, look, we're quite happy to do it around the same screen on the same time, we can change. It's very easy. We just press a button and you all come into the same room. So it's a very easy change. Absolutely.
So mediation is potentially funded by the Ministry of Justice. It's really interesting because there's some surprises actually in the funding, in that it's not means tested. You can have funding towards your mediation regardless of how much you earn or have. But of course it does have restrictions, doesn't it, John?
Well, it does. The funding is, we call it a voucher. It's a £500 voucher which the mediator will claim, and it is for child mediations or mediation involving children. So the mediation is children and finance. As long as the mediation is involving children, we can claim the voucher. Amy said earlier that she's never had this question. I've had this a few times in my AMs. Do I get the 500? This is my client. I'm like, no, we claim the £500, and that is put towards your mediation. And for us, in our company, that's 4 hours of mediation, 2 sessions of mediations that will cover. And a lot of ground can be covered in those 4 hours. So it's a very good scheme that the government have put in place. And I think it reflects the importance the government and the courts are putting on mediation, rather than everyone trying to get into court or going into court.
Yes, they've put together this scheme. It started in 2023, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, 23.
And they've continued it through now to 2027 because it's working so well. And in their view, it works because it brings resolution for parties that might otherwise have to go to court. It's helping the courts because their lists are shorter and they can focus on the important cases that are put in front of them. But equally, those parties that benefit from making an agreement between themselves, it means that it's done more quickly, more cost effectively, and of course without so much stress and pain.
I think the courts recognise this, and I always think it's far better for you as individuals, whoever's going through the mediation, to make your own decisions about going forward regarding your family.
Yes, it's really important.
And the courts have recognised that. And even if you do go into the court process, you will constantly be asked whether this can be resolved, a non-court dispute resolution, you'll hear that a lot, whether you can resolve this through mediation.
Yes.
So it's a very important part of the family court system that they will encourage people to resolve their own issues in the private law, which is the family law, rather than relying on the courts.
Yep.
And I think both of us agree it's far better if you resolve your issues than a judge who it may be the very first time he sees you, or if you've had a succession number of cases, you may have seen 2 or 3 hours and he's making decisions.
It's a very short time to spend with a judge for them to make decisions on the things that are going to take effect for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So mediation is the recommended route by the courts, and in the application forms for both finances and child matters, you do have to make a statement in regards to mediation. They ask, it is a voluntary process, but they ask you to attend mediation and attempt to resolve your matter, and if not, you have to state why in your application. There are, of course, factors that are taken into consideration. If you're in a domestic violence relationship and you don't want to attend mediation, you don't have to. But it's really interesting, John, isn't it, to talk about people that have been involved in a domestic violence relationship can still mediate.
Yes, they can. If people have got maybe court orders, non-molestation orders in place that prevent them from seeing each other or interacting directly, we can do a shuttle mediation so that there is no contact. So, these orders or the situation doesn't prevent mediation. It just means that we have to take some precautions to ensure the mediation is safe for everybody involved in it.
For me, I find it frustrating because it seems that the rumour is out that you don't and you can't mediate if you've had a domestic violence incident or a style of relationship, or there's police involvement, or there's a non-molestation order. We can mediate with any party that wishes to mediate, because I think it can feel quite prohibiting to a party that's been a victim of domestic violence to then have to go to the court for their resolution, when in fact they might get a resolution on some matters quite easily in mediation, or at least sometimes they want to attempt to do so. So mediation can be suitable for absolutely anybody. You don't have to attend mediation if it is that you suffered domestic violence, and so that really is hopefully a little bit clearer on that.
And but just also to maybe turn that a little bit on its head, one of the main reasons that you will attempt to do, you have to do a MIAM before you come into mediation, information and assessment meeting. And the assessment meeting element of that is that you will explain to the mediator the reasons why you're trying mediation. And if the mediator feels that it's not safe for mediation to proceed, then the mediator will tell you that, and they do not need to proceed with mediation. So although if you are desperate, if there is reasons to say it's not safe, then that's a decision that the mediator will make. And that's why we have this mediation, information and assessment meeting.
And that is the initial private meeting, isn't it? Each party has an hour with the mediator before mediation begins, and they're called MIAMs. I am commonly heard to say that it is the worst named meeting of all time. What it is a get to know you meeting, right?
It's what you taught me. This is your favourite thing, Amy.
It is.
You said it's what it says in the box. It's MIAM information. So when you first come in, we'll talk about family mediation. MI
mediation information.
So we will talk about family mediation. We'll give you the information, which I think we're going to touch on in a second, about what is the principles of family mediation. And then the second part of as it says, is an assessment meeting where you will tell us why you think you need to go into mediation. Or
if you want to ask us some,
questions.
Work it out, really. Yeah. And sometimes when we've seen both parties, we decide that mediation won't be safe and isn't going to be suitable. And sometimes a client can start a MIAM and realise themselves halfway through that this isn't going to be a process that's going to work for that family, for their own circumstances. And that's what that meeting's all about, working it out, a getting to know you and working it out meeting. And then at the end of both individual meetings, the mediator will make an assessment as to whether the mediation is going to be safe, progressive and potentially suitable to resolve matters.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, we were talking earlier about the voucher. The £500 voucher doesn't cover your MIAMs.
No.
It only covers the actual mediation. And that's important. The £500 voucher is to encourage you to go into mediation,
Yep.
not to cover the MIAM, which both parties would have to, or they would have to be paid for each MIAM.
Yeah, so the voucher scheme is put in place to cover in our service, it covers 4 hours of mediation, whether they be in a shuttle format or a joint format. That voucher scheme is in place for the actual mediation. It's not in place for those intake meetings, the 2 initial hour get to know you meetings. So you do have to put some skin in the game, so to speak.
And we're talking about what is covered in a MIAM. I think that's important. We have a quickly touch on that as well. So the first thing that we invite anyone to do who's thinking of coming to me is give us a call. We're very, very happy to have a free call. And if this wonderful podcast hasn't answered all your questions, please give us a call and we will explain and try and answer your questions for you. Once you've made a decision that you need a MIAM or you want to go into a MIAM, the easiest way to book it and the quickest way to book one is to go on our website where our calendars are available. And to be fair, I've had them done in the same day. People have gone on and gone, oh, he's got space,
yes.
Click. But normally it takes a couple of days when you look at our diaries to click on them. So when you book your MIAM, what can you expect?
Yeah, I think MIAMs are a really important, have a really important structure. We tell you all about mediation. We give you all the information about what the boundaries are, the abilities of mediation, what we can and can't help you with. We'll talk to you about how we're going to potentially manage it, the different options within. We'll talk you through the types of confidentiality, the reasons why we might have to breach confidentiality if you tell us you're breaking the law, or an aspect of safety for yourselves. We talk to you about the non-prejudiced nature of mediation, so nothing that's said in mediation can be used in a later court case. That's really interesting to hear.
It's also interesting to understand that mediation is voluntary.
Yes.
No one can force you to be in mediation, and it's also voluntary for the mediator as well. So it is a voluntary process, and that mediation establishes a safe space for you to have a conversation. And that conversation, as Amy has said, is legally privileged and it's confidential. So you're not allowed to record your mediations. You can't do mediation with anyone overhearing it unless both parties have agreed that somebody else can be in the mediation. There are some considerations when you mediate. If the children are at your house, how can we deal with childcare? Because a lot of the mediation is probably talking about your children, and that's certainly an adult conversation that they don't need to overhear. So we will talk about how we can set the scene for your mediation, what's expected, how long it's going to take. We also discuss whether there's anything that we can do to help you mediate. One of the examples I always say is I had a chap who suddenly stood up after 10 minutes, which was a bit of a shock because I hadn't asked him. I don't know why, he hadn't told me. But he had a bad back. So the poor man needed to stand up, stretch his back, and he could come back again. And once you know that, we can facilitate that in the mediation. So we'll ask you if there's anything that we need to do to help you to come into the mediation.
And so at the end of both MIAM sessions, you'll be let know the format that the mediator has decided to progress mediation to and work within. But mainly the mediator will make the decision whether mediation is going to be safe and progressive for you, and if not, recommend the next sort of course of action. So during the mediation process, you can have legal advice alongside as well, can't you, John? You can
have legal advice, and in fact, one of the main things that we will always say to you, we are not there to give you legal advice.
Yes.
And one of the things as mediators, whether actually legal advice is maybe one element, we may be doing a financial mediation. We talk about mortgage capacity, you need a mortgage broker. Could be talking about tax affairs, maybe you need to go to an accountant. We are certainly not experts, and we wouldn't venture an expert opinion on that, but we would signpost you to the relevant expert to help you through. And with legal advice, if during a mediation you feel you need to seek legal advice, absolutely, please go and talk to a lawyer
Yes.
to do that.